boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the free range human show of choice. Say it with me. Your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live here on 103.9 FM. WYAB. Streaming worldwide at WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB. If you were listening yesterday, I told you how to put a WYAB app on your phone without actually having to go to the app store. Pull up your phone. Pull up the browser intended for that phone. Chrome if it's an Android. Safari if it's Apple. Go to WYAB.com. Hit the little tab that says Listen Now or Listen Live. Once you get there, it's going to start playing. You'll hear the sweet, soothing sounds of the Clay Edwards Show if you're doing it between 7 and 9 a.m. You're going to hit that little thing on the bottom to share, and you're going to save to home screen. And it's just that simple. Boom. Shakalaka boom. You've got a WYAB app on your phone. It just goes straight to the player. Whoever's live in the studio at that moment, it will be what you hear on there worldwide. No matter where you're at, you can take WYAB with you. Everybody here doesn't podcast. Everybody here doesn't stream. Some do, some don't. But we all stream on WYAB.com. So if you can listen when their show is on, no matter where you're at, if you can make the time, you will be able to hear the show. Whether it's Jameson, Kim, Chip, whoever else, it's there. All right, the Guns and Gear text line. I need to cut the notifications of that back on so I can actually know when y'all text, so I'm not just checking during the show. I'm going to do that now as we speak. The Guns and Gear, it just got so out of hand I had to cut the notifications off. My social media notifications are off, too. I just can't do it. But the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, and I expect some phone calls this morning. Do I ever expect some phone calls this morning? It's 601-879-0002. One of the things we're going to talk about today, and we're going to give some examples, is my whole life. I've had black folks and white liberals alike tell me that racism is taught in the home. That nobody just wakes up one day and decides to be racist. That if they're racist, it's because their parents are too. I hear it all the time. Constantly. When I made that video calling out Black Gen X for being perpetually miserable for no reason when they grew up with the best race relations in America. If you're black, well, it don't matter what age you are, but particularly black folks, because they're the ones always screaming racism. If you're black and you're 42, 43, 45 or older, well, not or older, that would be false. But if you're in that, you're 45 to 55, that age group, and of course younger, until the younger ones sabotaged it. You grew up in the best race relation era in American history in the 90s and 2000s, frankly the 80s too. Once Reagan took office, race relations in America just got exponentially better post-Vietnam War. Now, I can only speak for things that, through my lived experience, 77 and beyond, so I don't like speaking for things before 77. Really before, like mid-80s when I was old enough to make a conscious decision. That's why I don't take any blame or apologize for anything that happened to black people or anyone else before I was born. Civil rights era, slavery, any of that stuff. Clay Edwards had nothing to do with that. That would be like somebody punching a lady in a parking lot while I was inside the store, but me feeling like I should apologize to her that she got punched in the face in the parking lot by somebody else while I was multiple football fields away in the store and I was not responsible for that woman. Now, if it was like my mother and I was responsible for her safety and I was supposed to be there and something happened to her because I wasn't there, then yes, I would apologize for something happening to her on my watch. Does any of this make sense for y'all? So we're told that racism, but it's been told this forever, and they always tie it back to some Nelson Mandela quote. You know, that racism is taught. Well, I believe that we're going to start finding out that people's actions are making people dislike, that the actions of a few are making people dislike an entire group of people. In other words, they're turning people racist. I've seen a lot of people talk about and have an opinion on this Shiloh Hendrix story, and we talked about it yesterday. I apologize for the second hour of yesterday's show. I thought that playing that Matt Walsh video and doing some narration on it would translate well to radio. That should have been something I did online with commercials and all that. It just didn't translate. So I do apologize for the second hour of yesterday's show. I just took the whole thing down, and I'll re-upload the first hour later. So because I thought the first hour was one of the best hours of radio we've ever done. And then we followed it up with one of the worst second hours. But with that said, the Shiloh Hendrix story is the white girl up in Minnesota who got caught on tape calling a little black boy the N-word. Actually, she didn't get caught on tape doing it. She got caught on tape calling him out, to the best of my knowledge. I haven't actually seen a tape of, well, she got caught on tape being called out and not denying it. And it's gone viral, and they did all they could to dox her. She's been doxxed. That means, everybody find out who you are, where you live, where you work, all that. Cancel culture doing what they do. That rainbow supremacist, Tizzy, or whatever his name is, fat white guy, he tried to dox me one time. But you can't dox me. I dox myself, punk. He didn't like my Black Gen X video. Well, I just asked black people, why are y'all so mad? You've been given everything my entire life. My entire life, this country has bent over backwards to make black folks feel more comfortable and to give y'all everything you want, to give you a hand up and a hand out. My entire life. So yeah, I got the right to ask you why you're so mad at white folks. I do. I have the right, just like the rest of us, to ask you why you're so mad. So the Shiloh Hendrix thing sparks what is one of the wildest things I've ever seen, and what Matt Walsh calls a death knell to cancel culture. And it's basically just the biggest double fingers up. And if you're watching on camera, you're seeing both of my middle fingers giving people number 1 and number 2 here. Now, I'm not saying this is how Clay Edwards feels, but I'm just painting a picture of what the internet and society feels. It is the biggest middle finger to Black America and the black for a living industrial complex that we've ever seen. It's normies. Just like what happened with Bud Light. Normies stood up and said, I've had enough of this transgender BS shoved in my face and down my throats. And this is one way that I can fight back and my voice be heard, and y'all know that I have had enough. And you see what happened. This is the Bud Light moment that the trans people, the Bud Light reckoning, the trans reckoning that the Bud Light moment caused, this is that moment for the Black for a Living folks, the cancel culture folks. The N-word is a magic word that only hurts if one person says it, but not another folks. So they dox this lady. I hope I'm doing a good job explaining all this the way I want it to come out of my head. They dox this lady. They start threatening her life. There's videos of people talking about killing her baby, all kind of stuff. We played some of it yesterday. So she starts it's not a GoFundMe, it's a Give, Send, Go, which is kind of the free speech of GoFundMe fundraiser type things. It's the X, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, of crowdfunding. There's so much irony with this whole thing. It's just phenomenal. She starts one. It's well over $700,000 now, probably getting close to $1 million. And it was to get protection from the anti-racist racist. And it is phenomenal to watch because what it is, and if you'll read, they deactivated the comments, so the only way you can comment now is if you donate. So people are donating just so they can comment. They also deactivated the comments on the Carmelo Anthony Give, Send, Go because of the same thing. You know, a bunch of racist comments, yada, yada, yada. People going back and forth. But the Carmelo Anthony, and I'm referring to it as the Carmelo effect. It was the peak, it was the top, it was the tippity top of what's been 40 years of white shaming and black folks celebrating too publicly. That I believe started with O.J. Simpson being found innocent for killing 2 white folks. That is the point A. This is the point B, or Z, because it's the end. Where white America, the supermajority of population in this country, that has been the punching bag for every minority group for the last 40 years, for every oppressed group by birth or by choice, LGBTQ LMNOP people, finally said, I've had enough. We ain't doing this no more. We are the majority, the supermajority, the adults in the room. We've had enough. That's what they're saying. That's what the message is being sent by the Shiloh Hendricks fundraiser. Do I think people should say the N-word? No, I don't think they should. I don't think black people should say it either. And when I see black people use that word in my comments, I block them now. That word won't be used. I don't think anybody should use it. If you tell me that if somebody white uses it, it holds some type of superpower, like it's a kryptonite of sort, that it just cripples you, then it should do the same thing if somebody black uses it. Nobody should. You shouldn't tell me that being called that is the worst thing in the world. But then right over here is a term of endearment. It can't be the same. No, it can't be. That's like, I'm going to try to make a ridiculous analogy here. That would be like if I called you gay, you got super duper offended because it meant that you like to do gay stuff, but you're straight. And you were very thin-skinned and didn't like being called gay. And you want to fight me over it. But if your buddy called you gay, it was LOL. I don't know. I can't even think. There's not even a parallel to the stupidity of this conversation. and maybe somebody else can think of one, you're welcome to pass that along to me. I would like to hear it. But so I'm just trying to explain to people, because I see a lot of people, a lot of my conservative brethren, a lot of people I consider friends, saying online, why can't we just normalize not donating to either fund? To the killer, Carmelo Anthony, and to Shiloh Hendrix. Can't we just normalize not doing that? Man, that train left the station 40 years ago. This is where we're at now. Unfortunately. This is where we're at now. I don't think it's racist to donate to Shiloh Hendrix. I think a lot of people absolutely have donated to it. I have not. But I think a lot of people who have not done it. I would say 99% of the people who donated to that did not donate because they agree with what she did. Most people find it vile and disgusting. Me included. I don't care if the kid was 5 years old or 10 years old. I don't care if he had autism or notism. Shouldn't do that. Of course, kids shouldn't have been stealing out of her bag either. But what it is, and why I have no problem with this fundraiser, is because A, she didn't bend the knee and apologize, and B, it is a double FU to the Black for a Living racial industrial complex and white liberal women that are the machine. They're the rocket fuel to that industrial complex. To the people who have sat here for the last 40 years and told anybody that acknowledged that there was anything wrong going on in the black community, that, hey, red flag here, there might be a problem going on over here. People like me talking about Jackson. And y'all have all screamed that I'm a racist and all these other things because I tried to point out a problem. All of us who actually had the best interest of the black community in mind get called a racist for trying to acknowledge there is a problem here. We need to raise flag. We need to do something about it. It is at critical mass. There's an extreme culture rot going on here. And it goes up to the highest levels, especially of local government. See Chokwe and Lumumba as example A, B, and C. Y'all shout everybody else down that tries to point out that there's a noticeable problem. And now you're surprised that people have had enough. That your whipping boy have had enough. You know, I've gone way past my stopping point for a break, but I want to flesh this out real quick in the next 60 seconds. I want to circle back to the very beginning of this segment where I said, is racism taught at home, or is it learned through lived experience? And I believe what we're finding out is, as someone who grew up in the 90s and 80s and 2000s when race relations were at their absolute best in this country, where we truly didn't see color, where white kids grew up wanting to do everything that we saw in black pop culture, where we shared each other's couches, worked together, played together. My black best friend had a white girlfriend. We never thought anything about this stuff. Truly didn't. Fast forward. And we take in all the things that we see, all the actions coming out of the black community, all of the attacks against white people or black people for trying to point out, hey, there's a problem here. We see the videos of the Mexican restaurant brawls. We see what's happened in Jackson, Mississippi. We saw what happened with Black Lives Matter. And I could go on and on and on, example after example. And y'all are surprised that people question all this, or that people have finally said we've had enough. I mean, I just want to ask, if America is the most racist country on earth, as y'all keep telling us, black people, this is a question for y'all. Do you think you shoulder any of the blame? Do you think the actions of your community over the last 40 years shoulder any of the blame for it? We're going to talk about it when we come back. Stay tuned. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Phone lines wide open, 601-879-0002. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. Would love to hear y'all's opinions, regardless which side. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Live here on 103.9 FM, WYAB. That was a quick break. It felt like it anyway. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Men's Health in Mississippi. Guys, get them testosterone levels checked today. You're going to need it out there in this crazy world. You always need to be ready. Don't get ready. Stay ready. Be ready. Start by getting your testosterone levels checked. You don't need to be some frail, weak, low-T man out there in what is going on in the world today. I mean, just listen to this show every morning. Cut it on the news for a second. I mean, it is not safe out there when you live anywhere near a bunch of Democrats. Anywhere. You need to be ready. You know, there's so much other things that testosterone can help you with beyond just physical strength. It can help you with mental strength as well. If you're suffering from any of these symptoms, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances, you voted Democrat. All right, I threw that part in. But it tracks. I mean, there's studies out there that show that low T men overwhelmingly vote Democrat versus high T men. So, tells me all I need to know. Text Clay for your complimentary testosterone screening today to 601-327-8550. 601-327-8550. Men's Health in Mississippi. If you need to lose a little weight, can't afford Ozempic, consider compounded semaglutide. For a third of the price or less, and it's still available at Men's Health in Mississippi in their New Care division. Simply text weight loss to that same number, 601-327-8550. Men's Health of Mississippi. Changing lives. All right. So folks are mad at me. You know, again, you're not allowed to have these conversations. This is the biggest problem, in my opinion, over the last 40 years because of all this, because of being shouted down. Anytime you tried to have a conversation, that now anytime you try to have a race conversation and ask any questions, these are legitimate questions. We're asking questions. Now, you know, they'll call you a racist. I mean, I got all kind of texts here. You're racist. You're racist. I don't care. I mean, throw another $1 in the bucket. Y'all been calling me that. See, Clay Edwards doesn't care about you calling him a racist because you started doing it at such a ridiculous early on stage and all this that I don't care anymore. It used to bother me because I know I'm not a racist. Like, it bothered me. Like, I'd never been called a racist before. But the second I started posting pictures of empty buildings in Jackson, Mississippi, and thought I might sell a shirt that said Save Jackson on it, folks lost their minds that a white dude could monetize Jackson's fall from grace. Now, they've been monetizing it my entire life on rap albums and in black culture, bragging about how bad Jackson had gotten, bragging about robbing Master P here, robbing celebrities when they come to town, selling dope in the streets, treating black women bad. Y'all wonder why black women hate black men. and they don't want y'all in the house. Look at how y'all treat them and talk about them. Cut on any pop culture, music, movies, anything, and listen to the way y'all talk about women. I wouldn't like you either. If somebody white talked about the black community in music, like black people talk about the black community in music, it would be a absolute burning at the stake. Tell me where the lie's at. Tell me where the lie's at. Hell, what I'm doing right here is about the equivalent of it, calling it out. But that's the problem. We ain't allowed to have conversations anymore without being shouted down. That's why I don't invite guests to have these conversations sometimes. I don't want to hear the BS. I don't want to get shouted down by somebody who can't make a valid argument. It's racism. Emmett Till. Ku Klux Klan. All Democrat problems, by the way, which y'all continue to vote for blindly. Emmett Till was killed by Democrats, not Trump supporters. Ku Klux Klan, Democrats, not MAGA. There wasn't no great flip, no great switch of political parties. Democrats are still doing exactly what they were doing 40, 50 years ago. Let's see here. I really need to take another break. I ran over so bad that first one. When I come back, we're going to talk about, I want to play y'all a clip of what real racism sounds like from a white Democrat in Jackson, Mississippi. I want to play y'all what real racism sounds like. And then we're going to talk about more reasons why I believe that racism is spiking in this country. And more reasons why people are looking at the black community for answers, or well, not for answers, but for accountability. We're going to talk about this guy up in Cincinnati who killed a cop, a completely innocent cop. This story hadn't caught fire yet. It's about to. Guy killed a completely innocent cop that was working traffic, like working a graduation or something. Ran over him on purpose after his future rocket scientist, engineer, and astronaut had to end up on some airbrushed on some shirts with some wings because he carjacked somebody and pointed a gun at the cops and got expedited to the front of the line to have a conversation at the pearly gates, where I'm guessing he probably didn't get in. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the community celebrating this man. And why, when other people see that, it makes them side-eye folks. This is just all facts I'm spitting at you today. Y'all all know this already. You just don't like hearing it. Don't go anywhere. Hit the share button. Let your fellow anger addicts know we're doing it this morning on the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to read some of your text messages too. 769-241-1944 is the Guns and Gear text line. BYB streaming worldwide in video on Save JXN or at Save JXN on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. This segment brought to you by our friends at A1 Gear and Auto. Swing by A1 Gear and Auto today for all of your automotive repair needs. Located right there, Highway 49 South in Florence, Mississippi. Whether it's a check engine light, brakes, an oil change, or a full motor replacement, they got you covered. But what they really, really excel in, they even got it in the name, is your ring and pinion. That's your gears. Whether it's in your front or your rear end, you have any issues, hearing some roaring, got a vibration you can't quite figure out, Probably got something to do with your ring and pinion. Get in touch with them. Let them get it taken care of for you. They're going to diagnose things right the first time. So it's going to save you time and money. It's going to be fixed for what they tell you it's going to be fixed for. Now, there are unforeseen circumstances. You start taking stuff apart, things can happen. However, they'll approve any extra money being spent before they do it. And last but not least, and in my opinion, most importantly, it's going to be fixed right on time. And I always say, if he tells you it's going to be ready at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, you can get you an Uber ride and be dropped off or whatever Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And unless he's called and told you otherwise, your car's going to be ready. You ain't going to be wasting time. He understands time is money. Our vehicles are important. They're basically a dang family member at this point. Let Justin and his team right there on 49 South in Florence get you rolling back down the road. So many great reviews. I send my family's vehicles there. I can't give them a higher, better review than that. A1 Gear and Auto. All right, a lot of folks unhappy with me this morning. A lot of folks agreeing with me. Again, it's a tough conversation to have. I'd rather not be having this conversation. You think I woke up today and thought to myself, well, how can I aggravate these folks even more? That's not what I do. Trust me. I mean, I see the way y'all look at me out in public, like I'm a monster or something because I dare acknowledge what I see with my own eyes. I get it. A lot of folks don't like it. I don't like having to do it. If y'all were taking care of your own community, I wouldn't have to do this. But you're not. Not enough of you. Dang sure not enough of you with a big platform. So that's where I got to step in. My life would be a lot easier if I could just come in here this morning and talk about the Rankin County Board of Supervisors bickering with folks and all that drama. We got bigger fish to fry. We got an entire culture we got to clean up. I'm going to show y'all another reason in the don't be surprised why people are becoming racist checklist or whatever you want to call it. Here's another example of why people ain't taking this crap no more. I don't even think it's people becoming racist. I'm probably saying this completely wrong. It's why I think you're going to quit getting any sympathy from people. Maybe that's the better way to put this. I don't know that it's turning people racist. It just, the black sympathy card is done. Oh man, you know, our ancestors did y'all wrong for so long, blah, blah, blah. That sympathy card is done. Maybe that's the better way to put this. People are just fed up. And it's examples like this right here that's got them fed up. This is, if you're watching online, you can see the picture of the guy. It's going to be a little video. There's no sound to it. But this is from Colin Rugg on Twitter. And this is all over. You can find it. Social media users are praising Cincinnati father. See, I like how they word it. He's a Cincinnati father. He is a father. A lot of folks are fathers of kids they don't take care of. He's a father. Rodney Hinton, for murdering a random police officer after his son was shot by police in a carjacking incident. Colin goes on to say, people have lost their damn minds. Last week, 18-year-old Ryan Hinton was shot by police who claimed he had pointed a gun at an officer after he fled from them in a stolen vehicle, a carjacked vehicle, mind you. Officers then opened fire and killed Hinton. A firearm was in fact recovered at the scene, according to The Guardian. The Hinton family, including Rodney Hinton, later met with police to review the footage. That's right, police showed him exactly the moment that his son effed around and found out. I mean, this is a textbook FAFO right here. After reviewing it, Rodney Hinton became visibly distraught. He left the police department in his own vehicle. Hinton later took out his anger on a random deputy when he decided to ram his car into the deputy who was directing traffic for a graduation. The officer was rushed to the hospital where he later passed away. And social media users are now praising the, let me say it out loud, not father, murderer. Murderer. Say it with me. Murderer. It doesn't matter what else he does in his life. He could be a cook. He could be a lawyer. He could be a radio host, a tap dancer, a line dancer, an LA Laker, a father. He's a murderer. That is now the top thing on his resume. Cop killer. So I'm going to play this. Like I said, it ain't got no sound, but it is a video. And I want y'all to see, and if you're listening on the radio, you just have to hear me narrate it. This is him being denied bond, I think, at his initial hearing. And that he's lined up, the cops lined up behind him. And he just mean mugs all of them and starts popping off at the mouth. And I'm going to read some of the online comments real quick. I got about a minute here. Somebody says, he kept his head up, looked them directly in their eye and talked smack. We stand with Rodney Hinton. And you can just see him. Then somebody else says, he a man of honor. What did it say? He a man of honor. We need to make a GoFundMe account. #100. Then somebody else says, eye for an eye. You can see the hurt in his eyes about his son, but you can see the strength and comfort he has from God by his walk, head held high. And people watching online, y'all can see him staring at the cops. And see, here's where the race stuff gets involved. This black guy says in the comments, this got me in my feelings. I support this strong black man for standing up for his son and the injustices that's been happening to our black people for years. Yeah, the injustices, what, not being able to steal a car and point a gun at the cops without paying consequences and repercussions? Oh, the injustices, I tell you. Somebody else says, Cat Lady, of course, says, I love it. He kept his head high and said, y'all not intimidating anything. I stand with Rodney. I'm just going to show the video here for people. And he's just keeping his head held high, just mean mugging, like he's doing like an album cover or something, like he's about to drop a mixtape. Just mean mugging. Somebody else says, and this is just the beginning. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more Rodney Hintons suddenly come out of nowhere. This is where it's at now. You know what you're going to end up with is a lot more folks dead at traffic stops, and y'all going to be screaming, my baby didn't do nothing. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to stream the rest of this during the commercial break here. And this guy here says, all these white cops don't intimidate a man who feels he's already lost what he could stand to lose. I stand with Rodney. I mean, none of these people want to acknowledge that the son on video tried to kill cops and got what he had coming. The world hates to see a black man protect his family. No, the world does not hate to see a black man protect his family. We encourage black men to protect his family. He didn't protect his family. He raised a little piece of crap. They went off and carjacked. He wanted to protect his family. He should have raised his kids right. He should have raised his kids right and told them not to get in the situation that they found themselves in. That would have been a black man standing up and protecting his family. This one says, eye for an eye will make the world blind. I guess we're all going to go blind because as a father, I understand this man. Somebody else. The black woman can't even look at him because she knows damn well there's a black cop sitting there. That's right. Walk with your head held high, brother. So, I'm just telling y'all. People see this stuff. People see this stuff, and it pushes people to saying they've had enough. You may call it people becoming, you may call it racism. Again, I don't really call it racism. I call it realism. It's people pointing out that they've had enough. They've had enough. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We ain't got about 20 seconds here. As y'all know, we ran over a lot in those first 3 segments. We got a whole nother hour to go. Miss Angela of the Mike Magazine is going to be calling in top of hour 2. We're going to discuss this and more. And I got some wild video for you. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. Coming up hour 2, I'm going to play y'all some video from the 1960s of a white Democrat talking about black folks. I want to show you what racism actually sounds like. Not having a conversation about race, what racism actually sounds like. We got to have a real conversation today. Me talking about this stuff ain't racism. It's just not. Me pointing out the obvious ain't racism. It's called realism. But we've been forced to stick our heads in the sand for so long and pretend that we're not seeing what we're seeing, that now anytime somebody stands up and says something, oh, you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to acknowledge that some accountability is to be expected from this community. Bad things happened to us years ago. We can't be held accountable for our actions now. Yes, you can. We'll be back. Boom, shakalaka boom, man. You've tuned back into the Free Range Human Show of Choice, the most incendiary show on the RADIO. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live on WYAB. Let's see here, man, real quick, man. I went by Martin's Market out there in Livingston this morning. Stopped by. I've been getting up earlier every morning and trying to not make any excuses, beat traffic, get on over here towards the radio station, do a little bit more of my show prep here in my office at the radio station instead of staying up to 10, 11 o'clock at night doing it at the house. I don't know that I've necessarily accomplished that, but I've been getting up earlier, if nothing else. But anyhow, with all that said, I swung by Martin's up in Livingston this morning. Man, if you haven't been by their little market there, I highly recommend checking it out. Way more than just a restaurant and a bar there. They got an entire service station, like old school service station, right there on location. You can go in by bait, minnows. They got sausages and biscuits and stuff, Southern style chicken biscuits, cold beer. You can buy knives, flashlights. They got all kind of crazy stuff in there. It's like a little general store. All right there. It's called Martin's Market. And, of course, they got fuel as well. Propane, everything. Stop by, see them today. And, of course, always visit Martin's for lunch, dinner, happy hour, and everything in between at both locations, downtown Jackson and Livingston, which is celebrating its year. It's been open a little over a full year now. Follow both of them on Facebook. There's Martin's Livingston and Martin's Downtown JXN. You can check it all out. All right. Let's go to the Mazda Jackson phone line. We got Miss Angela on the phone with Mike Magazine. Angela, hang on one second before you start. I just want to recap kind of where we're at now. We're discussing, we've been discussing a lot of things this morning, but most recently, if you're just tuning in, discussing an incident that happened up in Cincinnati over the weekend with a fella, well, it happened last week with a fella named Ryan Hinton, who killed a cop, an innocent cop, had nothing to do with, even if he wanted to kill a cop and felt justified for his actions, he killed a cop that had absolutely nothing to do with it, with a completely different department, for his son being killed after allegedly carjacking and pointing a gun at the cops. So that's kind of where we're at. And just talking about race relations in America in general. All right, Miss Angela, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, man. Listen, I've been following you, and I noticed that you posted a video that says cultural rot. And I've been speaking on that, not using that phrase or that terminology, but I'm trying to see, where did we get off on my side of the tracks where it's okay to wear pajamas in public, it's okay to wear a bonnet in public. And one thing that I've noticed, and I thank God I had my mom and dad in the home, which is rare. on our side of the tracks. It was not always that way.
It's rare over here too to
Right.
have both parents in the home nowadays. Let's not sugarcoat it on either side. Divorce
Oh, wow.
rates at 50% in America.
Mm-hmm.
Most homes, and I'll speak for the white community here. Most homes at minimum are split with step parents, if nothing else.
Yeah, blended. So
blended,
we're talking about blended. Yeah. And so with that comes a lot of, learned behavior. Well, we learned it this way. My mom said it was okay to go outside in flip-flops and pajamas. And no. We have gotten so far away from dignity, pride. I'm 45 years old, and my daughter knows not to go outside in pajamas. But also I tell people, because I was a teenage mother, that we grew up together. My parents were there to guide both of us. And, my dad would say, do not come and pick my grandbaby up just to drop her off somewhere else, because she can stay here where we can watch her.
I love that.
I'm in college, things like that. But Clay, I want to talk about the topic at hand.
Sure.
The Ohio thing.
Right.
Now, I think since COVID, it has shown us that everybody needs to step back, do a self-evaluation, and say, you know what, I need to take a mental health day or two, to step back and detox from a lot of stuff that's happening in our community, whether you're on the black side of town or whatever, right? Now, I waited until that story developed, and one of my close people who I follow on social media made a post yesterday, and I said, well, no, I think that was a random killing that happened. There's no way he knew exactly who this guy was, where he was, things like that, but it was random. Is it justified? I don't think so. We need friends. Who are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are your friends? Why is it okay to make statements that could come across as racist? Why is it okay to make statements that come across as offensive? But again, why is it that we are not allowing people to say how they feel without trying to say, put labels on them? Let them say what they mean. Let them say it.
I
I
always
respect you more when you say it.
I always say that.
Say it. Put your Confederate flag out there. At least I know who you are. Keep
Yes.
your flag.
Yes.
Keep your statues. I want to know your history. I want to know who you are. I want you to know my history. I don't want to be judged for being a black girl who likes to wear big nappy hair. You know what I'm saying? Let me be who I am. You might not like the way that my hair looks, right? And if I work for corporate media, of course I know that there's a standard across the board. I wouldn't go on TV like that, right? But let me, be who I am, and let's respect each other and talk about things that can help us heal as a nation. And Clay, I thank you for your platform, because you allow that. You allow us to be who we are. You do.
Well, thank you. Well, look, I was thinking about this while you were talking. It's like something that seems like to me, I'm giving folks permission now. I was thinking about like white people calling black people out, black people calling white people out for misbehavior, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Like, for example, if somebody sees my daughter out in public acting an ass, and if you're black and you see my white daughter out there acting an ass, you got permission to call her out for being an idiot. You ain't got to show restraint because you're worried it's a white girl. And I think it's the same on my side. Like if I see somebody acting an idiot, I'm trying not to cuss here. If I see somebody acting an idiot and they're black, I'm not going to show restraint just because it's a black kid and I'm worried about the black mama getting mad. Like I'm not going to show it. And that's the problem we've got back to. What do they say? Oh, it takes a village. We got to start acting like a village again. And I feel like I'm acting like the voice of the village up here this morning. People don't have to like what I'm saying, but we got to start taking some accountability.
And Clay, that's what made us so Southern. That's what made us Mississippi. Listen what I'm saying. It didn't matter. If you went in Mr. John's store and you cut up, he's going to put you in your place and he's going to tell your parents. Well, today, and I hate to say this, but you cannot correct a black woman. She's not going to allow you to correct a black child. She's not going to allow you to say anything about a black man who may be going overboard. That's part of our problem. See, our emotions. See, black people, we are emotional, period, right? And so with the black woman, if we could step back and take a listen to Clay Edwards, what it is that he's saying. I know you don't agree with the way he delivers it, but if you listen to the content and take your emotions out of it, he's saying some good stuff. He's saying some really good stuff. But black women, we can't be corrected. And I don't know if that's because we started to take that welfare, the food stamps, the Section 8, that we felt empowered and entitled, right? And so we need to step back. And a lot of people don't like what Donald Trump is doing, right? He's finding the money that's been missing and things like that. Yes, we need an audit. We need one. Okay, I want to know where the money is going. I want to know that Sesame Street got money over in these other countries and they're pushing a certain ad. I want to know that. Am I wrong for wanting to know that? Am I wrong because I agree that Donald Trump is looking for the money? Well, it depends on who you ask, but I don't care. I'm glad because guess what? Now they're talking about the Department of Education, that the money is missing. And no, it's too top heavy. And Clay, we've allowed black people to be in charge for several decades. We treat each other like dogs. We do. And I'm not saying that Clay Edwards is the great white hope, but you're the voice of reason. I mean, I sit here, I listen to you. Do we agree about everything? We already know we don't.
Right.
But we got to find a way to split this thing down the middle and say, look, you got to come off Section 8 at some point in your life, black woman. You've got to step back and stop depleting the food stamps and trying to blame Brett Favre. That food stamp is to supplement what you have. If you don't have anything, it's time to go back to the drawing board so we can do what our governor is talking about, Tate Reeves, get you into some training so that you can get a job that's feasible for somebody your age and not take the jobs of the teenagers. See, there's a lot of good stuff being said in Mississippi. I don't like people talk about my governor. I don't always agree with them, but we got to look at the people in leadership and honor them. Let me tell you this one more thing, and I'm going to be quiet. If people know that Sheriff Bailey was no longer the sheriff in Rankin County, oh, man, they would have a field day in Rankin County. Do I always agree with Sheriff Brian Bailey? No, but he has set a standard. He has set a standard. Now, I'm going to be quiet because I know I'm going to make some black people mad.
Well,
but if they knew Bailey was gone, they would have a field day in Rankin County.
You know, sometimes you've got to just keep your foot on the gas, and that's what they've done out in Rankin County, and that's what I'll say about that. Sometimes you're right. You set a standard, and sometimes you got to keep your foot on the gas. And let it work itself out. I mean, I think if Rankin County, if Rankin Cantonians have had enough, they'll vote him out. If he is found guilty of any crimes and he has to step down, then we'll see it through that way. But should he just step down? I don't believe so.
Yes.
Not until if he ain't guilty of nothing except blissful ignorance. I don't think that is enough of a reason to step down. And that's what I'll say about that. But I want to circle back to the Section 8 thing real quick because I seen a thing floating around that Donald Trump's going to. I couldn't find the story, but it was from a credible source. At least, of course, source a credible conservative source. I've got it right here, confidential report or something like that. I'm scrolling my X now, looking for the where I shared it. Anyway, while I look for it, here it is. Yeah, leading report. It says this was 2 days ago. It says President Trump's 2026 budget proposal would effectively dismantle the Section 8 program. Now I went to their website and I couldn't find the article, but to that I'll say this because I want to jump off what you said about black women on Section 8 and feeling entitled, and it dawned on me, you know, that's they're cancel proof. When you're on government assistance, you're cancel proof. You can say whatever you want to say. You can't be fired. You can't be. And that's why it's not a fair fight when you're trying to argue and make a point with somebody who's on government assistance or Section 8 or whatever, and it ain't just black women, but for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about black women's side, we're talking about black women here. You can say whatever, you can do whatever, you can act any damn way you want on camera, and there's no manager for somebody to call, there's no accountability, there's no nothing, because your check is still coming. And that creates a really unbalanced society when one side is able to get away with and say whatever they want because they're sucking on the government's tit the whole time, and the other side has to sit there and act rational because they know that anything they say and or do is could come back and cost them everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why people have sat back and donated to that Shiloh Hendricks, because they're kind of living vicariously through her. She's like our Section 8 girl who can say whatever she wants and get away with it. And for so long, only one side has gotten away with that. Now, that is just my 30,000-foot view.
And it's not fair, Clay, that we have to sit back. I was on Section 8. I grew up on Section 8. Section 8 is good for when it's good, right? But listen, you're not supposed to live there for generation after that's not what I wanted for my children. My daughter has an apartment right now. She's not on Section 8, working on a PhD. That is the legacy that I want for my children. Now, I can't say what the next black woman wants her legacy to be for her children. And I know that as a teenage mother, I beat the odds. And so can you. This is what my thing is. I want to encourage our black women. Don't feel like a victim. Don't allow big government to run your legacy or ruin it. Because, see, the thing about it, Clay, if we sit here and if our lawmakers go back to the drawing board and say, well, we're going to assess your character, and we're going to attach our funding to your social media output, we're going to attach it to your children's behavior at school. We're going to attach it to your involvement as a parent in seeing if you're going to these PTA meetings. They will shape up and they would stop the cultural rot that you talk about. This is something I talk about on my platform anyway, but they don't listen because guess what? I'm not the voice of reason, but if a white man named Clay Edwards, who's a conservative, says it on his platform, it gets their attention. And that's a good thing.
Well, I don't know that I'm the...
when you allow people like me to come on, they'll listen.
Well, I don't know that I'm the voice of reason, but I'm definitely a voice.
In my opinion.
I appreciate it. And I love you, and I love our talks, and I love that we respect each other enough to agree to disagree and not argue about the things we don't agree on. So that's the problem I think so many people have. People want to focus on arguing about their disagreements instead of focusing on the things they agree on. You know, like, you're not going to change my mind because you set out to change my mind. Your actions may change my mind, you know, and watching you from afar and seeing what you're doing and watching you fight your fight may change my mind about something for the better, by the way. It ain't always for the worse, for the better. You know, I may learn and change my mind, but if you sat down at lunch with me or on the phone or across from me on the radio and said, I'm going in there to change Clay's mind today, it's not going to do that. It's going to push Clay further in the other direction, just like it is most people. Okay? But instead of that, we focus on the things that bring us together instead of pull us apart, and we've become good friends.
That's right. That's right, man. And I've seen it throughout history. People get along even though they didn't agree about everything. No, but husband and wife don't even agree about everything. You know. Right. Come on now. Let's be for real.
Wow. What a phenomenal conversation we did this morning, Miss Angela. Thank you so much.
I am grateful for your platform, Clay. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, and we're listening.
Well, look, yours is you and every other listener and commenter and engager or whatever you want to call it is as important to this platform as me. It's called Clay Edwards Show, but there is no Clay Edwards Show without the people engaging. So thank you so much for listening and engaging and speaking your opinion this morning.
Absolutely.
I'll get it clipped out and have this posted separately for everybody. Thank you, Miss Angela.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
All right, let's take a break. If anybody wants to respond to Miss Angela, the Mazda Jackson phone line will be open when we come back from the break, 601-879-0002. The Guns and Gear text line is filled up. That number is 769-241-1944. When we come back, I want to play a snippet from a video from a white Democrat in the 1960s, 1961, I believe. Was filmed. This was filmed when the Freedom Riders came through Jackson, the whole Woolworth Counter incident and all that. This man was the leader of the Citizens Council in Jackson. I want y'all to hear what real racism sounds like in my mind. So you understand the difference in what real racism sounds like versus what being a realist and calling out a problem in a community sounds like. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We will be. Let me talk to the men out there listening real quick. Guys, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances? Hey, low libido, ask your girlfriend or wife. She'll let you know if you're suffering from that or not. That's sex drive. If you'll text my name, Clay, in all caps to 601-327-8550, 601-327-8550, Men's Health of Mississippi and the Clay Edwards Show are going to hook you up with a free testosterone screening. They're located in Madison, Mississippi at 120 Fountains Boulevard. You can check them out online, menshealthms.com. But one more time, text my name, all caps, Clay, to 601-327-8550 and get your free testosterone screening scheduled today. Enjoy the rest of this show. Right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Here live on WYAB, streaming worldwide, WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB, all that fun stuff. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Huey Magoo's. Guys, Huey Magoo's has got an announcement. They are going to be having a restaurant or a concession stand, however you want to word that, inside Trustmark Park for the all-new Mississippi Mud Monsters professional baseball season. So that's really cool. They're hiring people. You need a part-time job, got a kid that needs a part-time job, get to hang out at the ballpark all summer. That ain't too bad. And get paid for it and get discounts or free food while you're doing it from Huey Magoo's. I could think of worse summer jobs. I could definitely think of worse summer jobs. And maybe I'm assuming that would parlay into working at Huey Magoo's if you wanted to. I don't know. Talk to Chris about all that at the Flowood or the the Pearl or Flowood locations of Huey Magoo's. Swing by, grab lunch today. They're the filet mignon of chicken. But they are hiring right now, both locations, and looking for part-time work out at the ballpark. Or maybe you can work full-time, and they can use you at the ballpark. I'm not quite sure how all that scheduling is going to work, but I shared a Facebook post for them last night. Really excited about the Mud Monsters coming to Pearl. They're actually going to do some really fun stuff out there and make minor league baseball what minor league baseball is supposed to be, fun, and about a lot of fun gimmicks. Your boy is going to be throwing out the first pitch here soon. I'll keep y'all posted about that. That's right, Clay Edwards night at Trustmark Park. Oh, how far we have come. Oh, how far we have come. All right. Huey Magoo's, grab lunch or dinner today. I'm telling you, the grilled chicken strips are friggin' phenomenal. The fried are great too. Don't get me wrong, but if you're watching your figure, you just like grilled. They're marinated for 24 hours in advance, and they're so juicy. Most places have dry grilled chicken, not Huey Magoo's. All right, I'm about to play something. This is a warning here. There's going to be some. You know it's bad if Clay Edwards is giving a sensitive content warning here, but there is use of the N-word in this video by a white man. This was on the news in 1961. Very conservative time in America. So if it was okay to be on the news and it's okay to be in every rap song today, it's okay to be played on this show. But I want y'all to hear what real racism sounds like. And I will share the link to this video. I watched this one day and I was just blown away. And I was insulted at the same time. I'm like, sometimes racism is kind of like the definition of pornography. I think the Supreme Court says why they can't define it exactly. You know it when you see it. This is what real racism sounds like. I knew it the second I heard it because I said to myself, wow, that's racist. What I'm doing today is not racist. What I'm doing today is it being called racist is because people have been scared to have a conversation about race, an honest conversation about race for 40 plus years. I want to make having conversations like this normal again. so we can get past where we're at. And if I got to fall on the sword and be called the bad guy in the process, I'm okay with that. Because people like Miss Angela, who I fully respect, got my back. As well as a bunch of others, black people out there that I respect, who I know got my back. They don't mean they agree with me on everything, but it means they have my back on understanding that we have to have some tough conversations if we're ever going to get past where we're at without the name calling and all that crap. And yes, I take part in the name calling and the culture rot and all that crap too, because I'm talking to a bunch of knuckleheads. And you can't talk to a bunch of knuckleheads like normal people. You have to get their attention to get them to listen. That's why I talk like I talk. I'm trying to get your attention so you will hear what I have to say. I would have thought that black people of all people would understand that. Black women especially. Feeling like you ain't heard. I feel like as a white man in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm not heard unless I act out. So that's what I'm doing. Y'all leading by example. I'm taking your example. Now, let's have a history lesson this morning on the Clay Edwards Show. I hope I got the volume situation figured out from yesterday and people online can hear it. If not, tune into the radio is all I can tell you. Let me pull this up. This is, I forget his name, they're going to say it, but he's the president of the Citizens Council in Mississippi back in the 1960s. The Citizens Council are the people who started the private schools and all that here in Mississippi. Where'd it go? You got to be kidding. Hold on. Oh, wrong. There we go. Sorry.
Mr. Oldham, I don't know how the Mississippians are beginning to feel, but I know the press has just about had enough. When is this invasion going to stop?
I think the invasion will continue for some time. I don't like to use the term invasion. I think the freedom ride will continue.
Oh, wait, I had the wrong guy here. Hold on.
The Southern.
All right, here we go. I had to fast forward it too far.
If you want to know how integration has been held outside Mississippi for this long, you must first call on the Citizens Council, an organization dedicated to states' rights and racial integrity. Support comes from Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and 85,000 living white citizens of Mississippi. The overwhelming political power of the council is well demonstrated by the fact that it is partially supported by state taxes. William Simmons is secretary of the Jackson Citizens Council, editor of its newspaper, and president of its forum, which produced radio and television programs attacking the advance of integration.
The South has a large Negro population. In our state, it's about 42% of the total. And anyone with two eyes in his head and with roughly normal vision can look around him and see that there's a vast and permanent difference between the white and colored people. That, as Abraham Lincoln so wisely said a number of years ago, would forever prohibit them from living on terms of equality in the same society. That, just in a nutshell, is the reason.
How do you, as a Southerner, justify your position in that here is a Negro citizen, he pays taxes, and sometimes he votes, and he's a citizen. How do you justify feeling that he is not, in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of everything that we know of as American and democratic, that he is not your equal?
Well, I don't know equality in the... I'm really not sure how you mean equal.
Well, I mean equal in every sense of the word.
Well, equality in every sense of the word is obviously a myth. There are no people who are equal. No two people.
Now that's true. No two people are equal. And I don't mean that from a racial standpoint. I just mean that period. Because that's where meritocracy is supposed to take over and you're supposed to earn things.
There are no two races who are equal. They have different qualities, and this is an objective matter that can be determined by objective standards. As far as the more subjective aspects of equality go, we believe in equality before the law for all people. This is something that's quite distinct from individual talent or capacity or accomplishment. I think they're really two separate things.
Well, let's get down to basics. The separate restrooms, the separate lunch counters, things of this type, the separate schools. How do you justify this if you think of him as an American citizen like you are?
Well, I don't see that there's any special connection. Why should the Negro feel any more discriminated against than the white man for associating with his own kind? White people who are segregated don't seem to resent it, and I don't think most Negroes resent it. They seem to prefer that.
They do seem to prefer that. Outwardly, they have shown little interest in the battle against integration. There were no Mississippi Negroes among the Freedom Riders. Jackson Negro College students have attempted to use the white library, but even this drew no positive support from the rest of the Negro community. But it is difficult to say what they think, for they have no voice. The nearest to a Negro voice in Jackson is Medgar Evers, for 7 years local secretary of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Just how many Negroes...
All right, we ain't going to play any more of that. I will share the video, but I hope that from that we learn what racism actually sounds like. And in the humble opinion of your host, Clay Edwards, that's what racism sounds like to me. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show, here live on WYAB for our last full segment of the day. So I hope that we hear that. Man, I've talked to people out there. So you hear that white guy talking about black people aren't equal, can't live equal, can't be equal, uses the N-word quite frequently. I hear that, and that's what racism sounds like to me. Like, that's racism. You know, not asking for accountability. That's not racism. Not watching a culture completely collapse upon itself and asking for accountability. That's calling it culture rot, cultural rot, where a man can go kill an innocent cop because he failed as a father. And his future rocket scientist, engineer, and astronaut never got to see it through and become a rocket scientist, engineer, or astronaut because he decided to carjack somebody or steal a car and then point a gun at a cop. And he got killed. Calling that out, calling that culture rot, that's not racism. When I see people defend that kind of behavior, when I see people defend what Carmelo Anthony did, and they make it a point. Now, if you want to defend and just say there was two guys and it was self-defense, I think you're wrong. But okay, that's an opinion. But when you're solely only defending him because he's black and the victim was white, and you want to feel like you won a round in the race battle, that's racist. When I see these comments defending the cop killer in Cincinnati, talking about America can't stand to see a strong black man, a confident black man, that's racist. America does not fear a confident black man. We love confident people. That's why I tell everybody to go get testosterone. It'll help your confidence. Confident people don't do stuff like that. Weak people who can't control their emotions do stuff like that. But when I see people supporting that based solely on race, I think, wow, that's racist. When I see people like the president of the Citizens Council talk about black people like he did, I think, wow, that's racist. You know it when you see it. having a tough conversation with you about culture rot, that's not racist. That's just not. We've reached a sad place in America, and I don't foresee it getting any better. I loved Ms. Angela bringing up the Section 8 stuff and the entitled black woman, because it made me realize that when you're cancel proof, you can act any way you want when there's no consequences or repercussions or threat of losing your income. And that's why people are stuck in perpetual, what do they call it when your growth has been stunted? Arrested development. I think you've got a big problem. I think that what permanent government assistance creates arrested development. Because you just pick an age that you enjoyed the most, and that's where you stay. And for most people, it's probably their mid-20s, late teens, mid-20s, early 20s. I mean, I can drive through Jackson and places like that, and I can just see it. I know some black dudes that have been sagging their pants and wearing their flat bill hat kicked to the side with a white beater or a big white tee or whatever, dressing like they should be on stage at a rap show or in prison the same way for 30 years. I'm like, it's arrested development. There's plenty of people that don't do that, that grow up and go from sagging pants to jeans that fit, a suit, slacks, whatever, and look like, I don't know, an adult. And there's plenty of that in the white community too, in the lower income white communities. But for some reason, the lower income white communities do not have the levels of culture rot and violence completely devouring them like the black community. That's just fact. It's weird because we're the overwhelming majority, but our low income, trashy segments, whatever you want to call it, our pookies just ain't acting out like y'all's pookies. And when they do, we ain't got no problem calling them out, shipping them to prison for the rest of their life or however long they need to go. You don't never see white folks with a free pookie sign just because a white pookie shoots a cop. Ain't nobody there defending him. When Earl Ray, sorry any good God-fearing Earl Rays out there, I'm trying to pick an old Southern Mississippi name, Bobby Joe Ray, whatever, Pookie, does something stupid, we don't defend our Pookies. We don't make excuses for our Pookies. Y'all do. For some reason, no matter how far you remove yourself from Pookie, you feel obligated to defend Pookie. Like, it blows my mind. When I have these confrontations with good middle class, upper middle class black people who have gotten away from Pookie, but don't like me talking about Pookie. And pointing out that there's culture rot in the community that they've abandoned. You left that community. I'm not talking about black culture. I'm talking about Democrat death culture that has hijacked black culture. I shouldn't be the one having to do this. It should be y'all. Maybe it's y'all I should be calling out. Maybe it is y'all I should be calling out. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe me trying to call Pookie out ain't where I should be pointing my venom. Maybe it is the upper middle class and beyond black folks that still defend that crap instead of asking them for accountability, that still vote Democrat, knowing what Democrat politicians have done to the black culture and to the black community. Maybe I've had it all wrong. And as I say this out loud, I'm pretty damn sure that I have. Maybe it's y'all we should hold accountable or ask for accountability. Because y'all are enabling Pookie by not holding him accountable. Read some text here. Well, sorry, these are personal text. Let's look at the Guns and Gear text line. see if we can rattle off a few of these. Unknown texture. I might have missed it, but what about Chuck Way stepping down when accused of a crime? They fine with that? Oh, Chockway stepping down when accused of, well, Chockway should step down. Yeah, great point. I see what you're saying there. Everybody wants Brian Bailey to step down when being accused of something. Step down. But Chockway being accused, they going after a brother. Now, I know that ain't everybody. I've seen plenty of black folks online talking about Chockway, but there's a segment that truly believes it's a witch hunt and Chockway didn't do nothing. I mean, what? Let's take a break. Come back, land the plane for the day. Online audience, don't go nowhere. I'm up. Say goodbye to y'all separately. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. All right, guys. Man, I didn't get into the comments and all today. Just had too much going on. I saw that y'all been going hard in the comments. Thank y'all. I don't know if I changed anybody's mind. I don't know if we moved the ball down the field at all today. I'm mentally exhausted after this show. I hope that we progress the ball down the field a little bit and y'all see what I'm talking about. Any of my detractors? I doubt it. But I'll go back and look at the comments later. Y'all be blessed. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Stay tuned into WYAB if you're in your cars. A lot of great shows coming up. I'll be back here tomorrow, 7 to 9. All gas. No brakes.